But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody's checking it out.
I don't know whether rockets or whatever, but incredibly fast, almost the direction. It was too fast to get out there.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's light in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0,
doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening, and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. Now, that's really our calling card these days. I think, as I like to say here, one of the things that is unique about this show is that we don't chase down everybody else's narratives. Yeah, I had the president on and was watching for the UFO mention. It didn't happen. Yeah, but you know what? Those aren't our narratives. Let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about deep magic from the dawn of time. Let's talk about metaphysical laws that fit into the unseen realm. Let's talk about wild, weird, and wonderful things. That's what this has always been about. At least recently, we started like every other filthy conspiracy theorist out there. Shout out to all the filthy conspiracy theorists. But we kind of evolved past a bunch of the narrative chasing stuff, and instead started looking at history, looking at different ideas, looking at old scripture and things like this, and wondering how it came about and where some of these ideas came from, and and they're worth talking about. They're worth thinking about. They're worth learning about, I believe, because who really knows when we're talking about the unseen realm, what kind of laws dictate what's going on with this. That's what Troubled Minds has become. And I think I've learned so much here that I certainly can't complain for myself. But the deal is that there's so much to learn. I mean, you could spend, pick a niche and a sub niche and just spend your entire life just learning the deep dive of everything and burn your entire life on just a couple things. I mean, other than just human things. But anyway, I digress a little bit there. But the point that tonight we're talking about the agency of the unseen. That's what I'm calling this, metaphysical counterintelligence. Now, what does that mean? It means several things. We'll start with, let's see, what's the best place to start? Start with the inspiration for this. So Tom Montauk.net. I saw this a long time ago, and this is what he calls himself. And he's got a website. It's super cool. It's called just Montauk.net, like it sounds, Montalk, Montauk, the other Montauk.net. And he has this listed on his X account. It says hyperdimensional counterintelligence. And that's always stuck with me as like sort of a super cool way to look at the world, and not just, let's say, in terms of that unseen realm, but what does it mean to sort of synthesize that and be able to, I don't know, become like a modern day shaman or a modern day cunning folk, which we'll talk about tonight as we go. Yeah, I hope you guys are doing well tonight. The YouTube channel is broken, so please, I dropped the link in the chat there. So join the other YouTube and follow that channel if you're not. That is Troubled Minds TV. We are live there. And I think everywhere else, let me double check. My goodness, all the things. You got to check all the damn things because all the damn things might break. What's up, Puff? We got Nostra IC. Okay. All right, cool. So we were working on Rumble. All right. Anyway, so hyperdimensional counterintelligence. And I heard this guy a couple times in a couple different places. He's on podcasts and stuff. And he's a smart guy. And he's talking about these ideas. And if you go look at his website, montauk.net, he's got a ton of stuff. He's got a ton of, spiritual awakening stuff, how your mind influences reality. He's very much one of us, and it's super cool, right? And anyway, so that's where this inspiration came from, the idea of this thing tonight. But then also there's a whole bunch of different ways to kind of cook this down. Now, I'll go to the write-up because that's probably the best way. Instead of me rambling on, yada, yada, Mike ramble. Here we go. Every village kept one file open at all times, and it was never filed with the parish clerk. A cow died without cause. A marriage soured overnight for no visible reason. A field that had produced for 20 years suddenly refused to yield. None of these events had a suspect in the ordinary sense. No footprint, no witness, no confession to extract. What they had instead was a signature, a pattern of effect with no visible cause attached to it. And the person qualified to read that signature was never the magistrate. It was the cunning man or the cunning woman, and what they were actually running, described plainly, was a counterintelligence desk for incursions nobody else in the parish had the instruments to detect. So treat the premise seriously for a moment instead of decorating it. This is straight from the write-up. A hostile action originates somewhere outside ordinary three-dimensional causality. A source acting on the visible world from an angle the visible world cannot directly observe. The effect lands here, in a sick animal or a failed crop or a wasting illness, but the cause sits elsewhere, operating through channels that leave no forensic trace a constable would recognize. That is a hyperdimensional threat model, whether or not anyone in 1600 would have used the phrase. And the cunning folk built an entire tradecraft around detecting it, tracing it back to its point of origin, and closing the channel it came through. Now, that's the point tonight. I was doing some of this and kind of running down the ideas, and there's this old idea of the cunning folk themselves, also known as folk healers or wise folk, were practitioners of folk medicine, helpful folk magic, and divination in Europe in the Middle Ages until the 20th century. All the links are in the description down below. I encourage you to read this stuff in full. Highly fascinating. Lots of really great things afoot here. But it got me thinking about, in terms of, let's say, the larger context of this is, the modern time, we know the Ghostbusters, right? It is, of course, fiction, 1984, Dan Aykroyd, the whole bit, right? And they came in and they kicked some ghost ass and put them in the traps and then, stored them away in this, exotic device with exotic equipment. It's fiction. But it is one of the things we recognize in the modern sense when it comes to sort of something like the cunning folk or something like an actual practitioner that would be able to sort of sniff out a curse or a ghoul or a specter or a plague on the land and be able to actually sort of turn it around somehow and recognize what it was, what gods or spirits needed to be appeased, and then be able to sort of sniff out what it was and then appease it, do the things that are necessary to get the land or the animals or the whatever's going wrong to get it back and make it right. So I don't know. So I had this thought that it really feels like sort of a metaphysical police force to some degree, right? Where you're kind of watching out for these things and recognizing through folk wisdom, through folk magic, and passed on the oral tradition of these ideas that go back sort of like the Farmer's Almanac. But of course, deeper than that, we're talking something that is that deep magic from the dawn of time. I love me some C.S. Lewis. That again, those two chapters stuck with me so deeply forever that I talk about them often, because that deep magic from the dawn of time idea is this folk magic that goes back further than anybody could ever dream, because it is that oral tradition. It was passed on without writing. And so this type of stuff to me is highly fascinating. And so we're going to get back to this in just a second and take a quick break. But the idea is, do you think this is possible? Or do you think this is just, once again, us telling narratives, new narratives, old narratives, all the narratives all the time, and making up things to explain nature and the things we don't understand? As usual, look, there's no truth to be found here. I just love these ideas. I love looking at these, learning new things, of course, about the cunning folk, and we'll read some more about that, and about the idea of this metaphysical counterintelligence. What do you know about it? I'm calling it the agency of the unseen. But for right now, we're going to take a quick break, get a word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be the Stoic Minute. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in exactly 1 minute. See you on the other side of the break. Feeling stressed, overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so that's where we start here. Now, there's a lot of things in play, as usual, and the question of, is it possible? Do you think it is possible to be able to sniff out these old ideas, these curses, and turn them around, sort of, or abate them, make them inert in some way, counter them, or even send them back to the practitioners that sent them in the first place? Like I said, I know it's very esoteric. It's very, of course, Dungeons and Dragons like, if an evil wizard from the Dark Tower casts a spell on the village, is it possible that there's an entity within the village that can detect what's happening, recognize it, and then, again, alleviate the curse, or maybe even send it back to where it came from? I don't know. The agency of the unseen, as I'm calling it, metaphysical counterintelligence. And of course, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know it's highly fascinating to think about. So anyway, in this case, I was thinking about it in terms of like that, not just a weird desk, shout out Nick Pope, rest in peace, but he said he worked at the weird desk at the in the UK, the UFO weird desk, where all the strange things came across his desk. In this case, this is sort of like the weird desk of an old village, and the cunning folk themselves were running all manner of things, and taking payment sometimes, or sometimes doing pro bono work, doing work for free. I don't know. What do you believe regarding this? But anyway, so back to this. With the weird desk, the reason I invoke that is you start with detection, because every intelligence operation starts there. Divination was a collection method, the water bowl, the suspended key, the mirror, each one a different piece of equipment for the same job, pulling a signal out of a medium that should not carry information at all. And this is not folklore texture. This is signals intelligence run on a budget of well water and superstition. And it produced actionable results often enough that people kept paying for it across several centuries. A named suspect came out of a scrying session the same way a named target comes out of an intercept. And the community acted on it with the same confidence a modern agency acts on a confirmed identification. The method mattered less than the result, and clients seem to have understood this instinctively, judging a practitioner not by which piece of equipment they favored, but how often the name they produced turned out to hold up once pressure was applied. Straight from the write-up. A cunning man or woman who named the wrong party too often did not stay in business long, which is the fascinating part about this. When you think about that old folk magic and, running the seer out of town because they're always wrong about everything, it makes you wonder about the deep intuitive level they would have to recognize not just what's happening in the natural world, but what's happening in the human world as well. And of course, that metaphysical aspect and everything as it comes together. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, okay, anyway, that's enough right there. A cunning man or woman who named the wrong party too often. Yep. And that's the point. So anyway, what do you know about folk magic? What do you know about the idea that these cunning folk were actually sort of running the weird desk of these old villages, and that they were trusted enough within the community to be able to identify the unseen plagues or problems that were bedeviling the space, the village and the countryside and everything else in the spaces they lived in. That's it. That's where my mind is at. I got some other things to throw at you as we go, some curveballs and some other weird stuff. But there's actually this super cool article. We'll read some of this as well from Occult World. As always, the links are in the description down below. If you want to read up on this stuff, like I said, I encourage you to do that in full because there's a lot of really great information here. But anyway, what do you know about it? We are taking your calls tonight if you want to be part of the conversation. That would be 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being a patient friend. Let's go to James Salcedo. What's going on? How are you, sir? Welcome to Troubled Minds. What do you got for us tonight?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear. You sound fantastic. I haven't touched any of my dials, so everything seems to be as it should. Welcome.
Good. Yeah, this is an amazing topic because I can tell you from just the research I've done through the years, all these this old folk magic, all these operations, however you want to look at them, these processes, they still exist in today's world. They're just not advertised as much, as often, because of modern technology, science, all these things. But if you look around online, you can find accounts from people talking about their experiences where they know someone or their family or someone in the area went to a person who was able to sense these things, pick up on these things, and deal with them, and or people that were having experiences where they feel like one of these people was sort of the opposite end, where they were causing these things to happen, negative things to happen, and they had to basically leave the area, or they had to find someone else to counter that. And so all this is still happening based on reports today.
Yeah, and that's the wild part about this is that all of this stuff has been, as you're describing, this is something that goes way, way, way back and is all over the map too. When you start to look at how some of these remedies were applied, how they were detected, and I can't help but think when I'm thinking about the idea of this agency of the unseen, the metaphysical counterintelligence, the idea of witching. They still pay people to go kind of out in these random fields with the stick and sense the water underground, where the modern what would be geologists would say, now there's no water down there, but they still pay thousands of dollars to these people because they can go find a well where there supposedly is no well. I mean, that right there really screams this intuitive folk magic to me, whether you want to believe this stuff or not, like I said. And remember, all the disclaimers do apply. There's no truth to be found here, all the stuff, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. But I think if that is the first step into this, then certainly there are additional steps that kind of come as part of that ancient, the deep magic from the dawn of time. Fire stuff, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think another name for that also is dowsing. I think we've probably all heard of dowsing rods before. And those are used for that same purpose of finding wells, really finding anything in nature, but also finding supposedly spirits, apparitions, souls, ghosts, whatever you want to call them, in places. And they've even been, in some cases, some groups of paranormal investigators, some people, maybe one person on a team or maybe more, sometimes they'll use those. They'll have someone on the team that is very familiar with using dowsing rods as part of the investigation to get yes or no answers. And so it's fascinating that, all this stuff, I mean, it's still included in modern day things like paranormal investigations, which is meant to get back into that whole space. But also, like you were saying, I've heard of those cases as well, where major companies or families looking for wells on their property would go to these people. And of course, how do you do that? You have to talk to people in the area and find out, hey, is there anyone in this area that can do this? Or even someone not in the area, but you have to talk to people and know people, I guess, to find out and to get in touch with those people that can do that, to then have that process done.
Yeah, which is, again, just the beginning, sort of the toes in the ocean version of this. But then you go back and you look at curses and you look at some of these other things. And I wonder, we've talked about curses in the past, and since we're talking about folk magic, it certainly fits into that. But is it possible not just to sort of alleviate a curse or, make it inert, like I said, is it also possible to kind of cast the magic back to from whence it came? And sort of the Uno card. We're always messing with the Uno card and the other chat there. But kind of I see your spell, but I recognize where it came from, and as a result, I can send it back to you. I mean, this type of stuff like really fascinates me on how this would have worked, or again, just kind of doing. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know a ton about this, but I know enough about it to be fascinated by the aspects of it and how far back it does go in this wild space of folk magic itself. Well, Scott, go ahead. As you know the timing better than I do, but so you're welcome to stay, of course. And we got about four-ish minutes left. If you got anything else.
Yeah, no, happy to stay. And I haven't. This is sort of one of those things where it's on the edge of what I do, the research I do into people's experiences with paranormal, unexplainable, anomalous experiences and all that. And but it does come up from time to time. And yeah, I've heard that there are people that know how to reflect. Basically, it's even put that way: reflect curses or spells or intentions or any number of things. And they're all words I've heard before. So I'm not even picking things sort of out of nowhere. But basically, people can. Certain people know how to, or have figured out how to reflect these curses or spells or intentions back at their source, even stronger, sort of almost like the idea of a mirror in a way as well. But I've heard like whatever is sent at me, it'll go back to you or whoever is causing the situation, threefold or tenfold or whatever number you want to put to that. So I have heard that, and I always wonder, where's the bit of reality that comes from.
Yeah, agreed. And again, so the question I always like to ask too is, how weird does it get? Like, how deep does this go? I mean, we've heard of the term the invisible college. We've heard of like these esoteric systems of secret societies going back to the Dionysian mysteries and things like this that are like ancient, not just sort of a weird Yale skull and bones or something from modern times. We're talking about this ancient stuff. So I don't know, how weird does that get, and how much of this stuff did they know? I don't know. For me, I'm as I keep saying, I'm fascinated by this, but I don't know what the limit is. And clearly, I think as humans in sort of the metaphysical sense and looking at that unseen realm, we don't know what we don't know either. But I think there are some among us that might. And that's really the reason I'm talking about this is, do any of you guys know anything about folk magic, about folk curses, about sort of cleansing them, reflecting them, as James just smartly pointed out? I don't know anything about it, other than I think this is a really great idea. And it does remind me of Dungeons and Dragons. Shout out Nostradamus over there on Rumble. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. And it does, like you said, I think it does fit very well into what you do, James. It's just not that you dig into this too often, the folk magic version of this. But I mean, if there's a haunting, let's say in a particular house, this would be sort of the entities, this agency of the unseen that you would sort of go to as a proto Ghostbusters idea, right? To sort of quell the poltergeist in the space. And that makes some sense, doesn't it?
It does. There's no, I mean, depending on, of course, any organization tied to a major religion will say that we have the best system of dealing with all these things in some cases. But there's no one system or one way that everyone uses to deal with these things, or one religious background, one cultural background. It's basically anything that people are used to, familiar with already, or if it's an extreme enough situation, they will just start looking around and talking to people and saying, "Hey, we have these problems at our place, and we need someone to help with. And what do who can you refer to us?" And that's something that you hear about, and it's not just this organization or that group or this type of person. It can depend on the area, but also just it also can depend. The effectiveness can also vary as well in each situation.
which is the point and why we're talking about it tonight. That's James Salcedo, of course, the glue of the show, the paranormal expert at Troubled Minds. We'll talk to him momentarily. Go follow him at salcedoparanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. Tonight, I'm calling this the agency of the unseen, metaphysical counterintelligence. Is this possible? Can we sniff out the rules of the cosmos, the unseen realm, and actually find a way to remedy bad juju as it happens? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. We got Jen coming up and your calls as well. See you on the other side of the break.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
There's a door past the churchyard nobody names, where the ledger stays open and nobody's blamed. A cow goes down sick and the field turns to stone, and the priest never comes, so you go it alone. Knock soft, knock slow. Ask what the water already knows. Every curse leaves a trail if you know where to stand. The unlisted agencies got the whole file in hand. Murrow kept his books like a man keeps his tools. Old Solomon's key and the working man's rules. Betty stood her ground while the pulpit cried thief, and the whole parish lined up to beg her relief. Knock soft, knock slow. Ask what the water already knows. Every curse leaves a trail if you know where to stand. The unlisted agencies got the whole file in hand. No papers, just word of mouth grown.
As I'm choking down tacos over here, sorry about that. What's up, Kelly, Dragon Rose, Matt Sal, what's up, Jen? I see you there, James Dipped. I'm sure he's going to be back in a second. What's up, Apoc Sacha? I see you. Hope everybody's well tonight. Just hanging out, doing Troubled Mind stuff, trying to eat real quick. Yeah, get home from work, do the Troubled Minds, you know, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Over to YouTube. We are on the other YouTube channel, so that would be Troubled Minds TV. The other one's not working, but shout out Fred. James is there. What's up, Ioxy? I see you. Hello, Jen. We'll talk to Jen momentarily. Hello, hello. Who'd I miss? If I miss anybody, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. Over to Rumble real quick. We got Puff is first. Got the Puff sliding. What's up, Nostradamus. We've got Sweets is over there, James. And here we go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. When I find my buttons, let's see. Where are they at? There we go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That is KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And of course, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we're talking folk magic. Let me read the blurb. Probably best to just read it. Cunning men and cunning women looked at less like village mystics and more like an unlicensed counterintelligence desk running detection, direct action, and defense right alongside the church's competing claim on the same territory. And of course, what we're talking about is just folk magic. Now, like I said, I was inspired from several angles here, and there's some actual folk magic. We'll get to some examples as we go tonight. But per usual, I want to know what you guys know about this. That's the entire point of this. Once again, we need to talk to each other. We need to think about these ideas. Look, in my opinion, and some of this stuff is going to be frivolous in 2026. People are going to be like, come on, Mike, this is really stupid. And that's fine. I don't really care. Like, if you want to go listen to the Orange Man talk about an election, fine. You go do that. You be happy. I hope you're happy, right? That's not like I had it on because I was waiting for the UFO drop. He didn't drop anything about UFOs, but that's not our narrative anyway. Like I said, some of these ideas, this folk magic, does go back deep to that deep magic from the dawn of time. So what do you know about it? And is it possible to take something, that the divination aspect, recognize there's something foul in the air, and then defeat it, send it back from whence it came, make it inert, or at least shield the village or the space from the energy that comes? I don't know. I don't know the answers to these questions. I do know that this deep magic from the dawn of time is highly fascinating. And of course, the morphic resonance and things like this come to mind. The noosphere of Teilhard de Chardin, things like this, and kind of what we don't know. So that's the beautiful part about talking about ideas that we have not really kind of nailed down into the space just yet, because they're not, they're labeled in the old way. But I think when science catches up to them, maybe they'll have a new name for them. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Anything to add, James? Welcome back. You had a hiccup there on the laptop again. If you're there, we'll go to Jen. I'm not sure what happened to James. James dropped and then came back, so he might be having internet issues. We'll get to James momentarily. 702-857-6939. There's James. James, welcome back.
I'm back.
You're back.
Oops.
Oh, did you?
Okay.
Was it an internet thing?
Yeah. Laptop had to update, so I don't think it was internet, maybe an update, but I'm on my PC now, so yeah, sorry about the interruption.
That's okay. These things do happen. Let's go to Jen in Missouri. Thanks for jumping in here. I thought this would be down your alley a little bit. How you doing tonight? Welcome to Troubled Minds. And what do you know about this agency of the unseen and metaphysical counterintelligence?
Okay, so it really is something I'm very interested in. And James, it's good to see you. How are you?
You as well. Okay.
Good to see you. Good. And Mike, okay, so yeah, there's going back and thinking about this, people are going to think that this is just all a lot of hokey silliness, but that's not exactly the case. I mean, even if we look at the world today as it sits, a lot of science proves that the mind can be influenced fairly easily, especially through accessing the different wavelengths of the mind, like theta, those sort of zones of the different, the way that the mind is sort of waving through reality and experiencing its existence. It's relying purely upon the senses to pick up everything, around themselves. So, and the version of reality that we see is heavily influenced by how those wavelengths are manipulated. So we know that, and that's used all the time in a lot of modern technology and marketing and in the sciences, especially in the intelligence agencies. It's a very well studied practice of how to influence the mind. Obviously, you could see reasons why that might be beneficial to a government. And they have it mastered down so precisely at this point. And it's reliant purely upon its past, that it has reached the point of vast expansion into the minds of the species. It has a varied past. Going back, you can go to the church and the religion systems and see that that's exactly the same sort of system that they utilized to sort of sway the minds of the people to help them into being governed, as they might put it, because they obviously needed it. If you go back further than that, they're relying off of the stories and the ways of the people and the shamans, of course, and all of these cunning folk that we're talking about right now. And the way that they accessed it in the old world is very similarly mimicked today. If you go back into the ancient world and into the world of witchcraft, there's terms like a fetch. A fetch is a thought form. Sometimes it's an actual other spirit of an animal. They believe that they've accessed the mind of the animal and can persuade the animal. They've hypnotized the animal, and they have been able to somehow manipulate it. And they're also hypothetically using hypersenses. They had access to a world that was very different from ours. You had exact 8 to 12 hours of complete darkness a day that completely would change the whole rhythm of the way that their minds were operating and the world they were living in. You have to conceive of before there was electrical light, the impact of absolute darkness and how that was a very powerful effect, especially psychically, on the human being. But they would technically hypnotize, hypothetically in this lore, these animals to do things. But besides that, they were very progressive with out-of-body work and travel. Many of these cunning folk could see into the other realm. They believed they could see into the other realm, and they could even access other people in that realm. And they got really good at it. It's kind of like remote viewing, which we know has been heavily studied even today and is fairly well documented in its accuracy. But these same people were seated back then, and they themselves, had that kind of power to be able to see into the minds of the people around them. And specifically in this instance, what we're talking about at this point is that it's necessary to get into the mind of the person you intend to curse or to do anything with. You get into their mind. There's many different methods of doing so, many of them involved with rituals, trauma, and progression, to where you create a psyche that it makes an available space, because the person would have to compartmentalize the ritual they had seen and how that relates to their day-to-day existence. Through that space, they would plant such a thought form or fetch, and it would operate as a type of spy upon the individual. So they're being watched. The person would start to feel these certain sensations. They may go talk to their neighbor. Their neighbor may be such a person, and pick up that person has been touched in a way or crossed. And they would go into that realm at the same place that these other practitioners would go, the astral plane in a way, if you will. But they would also be working on the mind of the individual to allow them the defenses that would be necessary to protect themselves from this. And the first thing that was most necessary was to bring them back to themselves. This was often done through music. And this was bringing them back to the place where they come from. Anything that draws them back to their roots. That's why these rites and everything in the past were so important, because a person had to have a place to come back to that was who they actually are. So that individual would be able to stand up and actually take its full place in the person's mind and not be affected to make decisions that would be their own demise, that were planted there through these fetches. Knew what they were doing because they're technically spying, like remote viewing, upon the individual. And a lot of the rituals themselves were to convince the practitioner and to put them in the right mindset, but they become very, I guess you would say, almost experts in that realm. And so you're up against something that is superior to your mind's astral projection abilities, and then influenced and oftentimes dissolved for whatever goal there was. And there was always some particular principles that were at work that would, why a person would be chosen and, for what purposes.
Yeah, well said, all that. And what it brings to mind is like a sort of a proto idea of hypnotism. Not necessarily where you're kind of Matzel says imprinting, seeing through their eyes, but sort of maybe a communion of sorts in the mind space, or that proto hypnotism, kind of changing them and recognizing, like you said, them finding themselves. And when you talk about curses, we've talked about curses in the past quite a lot in different ways. And that folk magic that comes too. I mean, I've talked about, my dark night of the soul, and I lost faith in myself, and you see the world in a really dark way, and all these other things, and you kind of don't even recognize what the influence is sometimes, but it's there. It's certainly there. And kind of what brought me out of it was the fact that I was able to sort of return to where I came from, to find myself again. I didn't have anybody to help me do it other than my normal, let's say, support group. But those individuals can't really understand what's happening to you when you're going through something like that. It's really indescribable. But kind of finding my roots and where I came from and the things I was interested in, and starting to believe in myself and just small things became, I don't know, sort of a magical mantra, ritual space to kind of come back from. But I can see how, if you had a seer of this, a cunning man, cunning woman, the old folk seers and folk magic types, I can see how they would be able to recognize in you that you had lost yourself, as you're describing, and maybe even bring you back in a very, very quick way, because they understood what was happening. And I'm not saying I was cursed or, anything like that. We tend to be our own worst enemy at times, but I think this aspect of the shaman or the cunning man, cunning woman, the seer of old certainly had a role here. And that intuition is deep. It does go way, way, way back, which is a highly fascinating as part of it. And fire stuff. What else you got? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all the originator of any type of influence on others. So, I mean, in particular, this environment we're talking about, a type of individual that would even seek to do such a thing would already be possessing some sort of, derangement, obviously. And so that directed mindset can be very dangerous. A fixation on another individual is the way that curses occur. So that's why you can say that the reason that people, maybe even in the modern world, obviously it's a malignant purpose, or they wouldn't have to do it in secret, as they do with top secret programs and things like that. So with Mockingbird and MK Ultra and Sub 119, which I talked about in a recent video I did, about how this is operating, how important it is to recognize that the things that you're seeing around you are influenced by unseen practitioners. And many of these practitioners are intentional to such a degree that they are very highly practiced. And there's also use of substances to access that realm, as people have heard about. This is not just excluded to the government. I want to be clear about that. I'm saying that people in your own personal environment, if they are able to access that realm, they can see into your world a little bit and perhaps influence you in that direction. That's what we're talking about with modern day curses. And the other issue with that would be that today's people don't even believe in a lot of these things. They believe about it from a scientific perspective. They understand the data, the zeta, delta, omega. They understand that about the wavelengths and the way that there's these different levels. So they're willing to accept neuroscience, but they're not willing to accept that it can be influenced by the mind of another person, or that a person could have access to their inner world to such a degree that they can actually almost see a person's day-to-day life. And so underestimating that has made people vulnerable in that way. And so they may be in a world that's influencing them in a very powerful manner and influence their mind. They don't see that their mind is like an antenna to a radio wave. So even thoughts that you may have that are disturbing to you might not even be your own thoughts. It could just, and you could learn to just sort of see those as something passive, like people used to know, something that's going to pass and it's not your own. But that's not you, just because it's inside of your mind. And we know that some people are very visual and some people are more auditory in their mind, and that can all be affected. So it really comes down to, you don't have to believe in it. That's why with the CIA and these different programs, it doesn't matter if the people believe in it. They were looking for beyond that, and they did find it. And they found it through these old rituals that we're talking about, and the same sciences that were at work to influence that social body that we don't see.
Yeah, exactly right.
But,
yeah, well said. And the wild part about it is, like you mentioned, that remote viewing aspect and the Stargate project and all the things that they've been deeply into with Bernays propaganda we've talked about on this show, which I like to call MK Ultra for the masses. And they found ways to do this. I mean, like I said, the political world has become so contentious that, you know, neighbors are fighting with neighbors, and, you know, family members are kind of cutting each other out of, you know, discommunicating from the family and things like this. It's like, really? Because of some stupid political space? But I mean, I don't think that's an accident. I think that has been engineered deeply, and I think it's been being used against us every single day. And that's part of the problem. And that's why I like to talk about that unseen realm and the idea of the control mechanisms that we don't recognize, we don't notice until somebody else points it out, right? Like we talk to each other and go, okay, well, yeah, there's something happening here. And it seems very much like an MK Ultra for the masses, but like a societal hex or some kind of witchcraft, right? I mean, it just depends on the semantics of the conversation, but it very much feels like that's what we're dealing with, not just in the political space, but everything else as well.
That's the power of it. If you can imagine that people can be heavily persuaded to believe in certain ideas, certain sort of moral compasses that are directed by their government and their society, but not themselves, that can create a type of division inside the person. That alone can do that. Agreeing with concepts and ideas that aren't of your own volition, but believing in them so fervently that you will go to war for it, takes a lot of work on the behalf of a practitioner or a system or a government, that they must convince them that it is worth this much. It is that important. And they have to silence any other opposition within themselves that would say otherwise. So it's very useful to the government systems, but in the past, it was also useful. Anyway, I have to hop off here. I have a lot of thoughts on this, but
sit, pup.
Yeah,
sit.
Yeah.
You're the best. Appreciate the call. Thank you for jumping in here. And yeah, lots of great ideas there that are going to take us down the road here. Because again, please follow Jen and all the places. She mentioned a thing there. I don't know what she was discussing on her new video, but I can tell you where to find it. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's all alphabetical. It says follow Jennifer there. Click that and go check out her YouTube channel. And go check out what she was talking about recently on her page there. I try and keep up with everybody. I just can't watch everything. I don't have. There's just not that much time in the day to be able to kind of keep up with every damn thing. And I wish I could. Honestly, I just can't. But I will catch up on that this weekend and watch some of what she was talking about. And very smart stuff. And that's the point here, is that we're going to see these things in slightly different ways. We talked about, you know, witching or dowsing, as James said there, and that type of stuff that seems very folk magic-y. Okay. But then beyond that, I think this goes deeper and deeper and deeper in different ways, and not just a way to sort of, draw you out of yourself. And it comes to mind, I was watching recently The Two Towers from, Tolkien and the Peter Jackson versions of Lord of the Rings. And he withdraws Saruman from Theoden of Rohan because he was sort of haunting him. He was bewitching him. He was kind of kept him in this malaise state of control. And Gandalf the White is able to draw him as poison from a wound, as he said. And so it's an interesting thing, because this is exactly what we're talking about in terms of the cunning folk, or the cunning man or cunning woman, is that it's a seer. It's that ancient wizard that is able to kind of recognize these things. And, you know, in the Lord of the Rings, of course, it was very obvious, but there are some times when our mind is sort of bedeviling ourselves where it's not obvious at all. And I don't have to tell any of you guys that we're humans. We recognize that sometimes we betray ourselves, and in weird ways too, with the ways we never would have guessed. But yeah, fire stuff. I appreciate that call. One more time. Follow Jen. That's the Arcane Observer, troubledminds.org/friends, or click the friends link. Just scroll down and it says follow Jennifer here. Please do that, and I will follow up as well and check out what she was talking about with her new video there. James, anything to add to what Jen said, or any ideas you had as part of this? It's weird. It's a weird one. It's the folk magic, the seer, the Merlin archetype, Gandalf, and of course, I withdraw you as Saruman as poison from a wound. Welcome back. Oop, that's the right one. I guess we'll go with that. Welcome back, James. How you feeling?
I'm okay. Yeah, great to hear from Jen. And her latest 2 videos do cover cover this in a way as well. So I did listen to them, and I'm not versed enough in everything that she covered there, which was amazing to talk about it. But definitely check out her channel for those. And yeah, I think like I said, it's just I do come across these things, reports of these things here and there in the research I do, trying to find reports of experiences, and I find people that say, my family, we in our area, we had this situation where bad things are happening to us or to people we know, and eventually they had to call someone in to stop that, and it worked. Or in some cases, they don't know who to call, so they just have to flee an area altogether and start over somewhere new, which is that's a whole thing they have to go through. But yeah, so this is a great topic, and it's everywhere too. It's not just one part of the world. It seems, everywhere in the world has different names for these processes of contacting whatever other is, and getting information or giving information or sort of collaborating with other forces to cause things to happen in the physical world. But they just have different names for them. And I mean, whether it's in Mexico and south of that area, or really it's everywhere. It's just I think we hear a little more about that from this part of the world because that's where we're at. Those of us that are here in the U.S. But I've heard of rare cases other places as well.
Yeah, and the other part that comes to mind when we're talking about this stuff, sort of I'm calling this the agency of the unseen, the metaphysical counterintelligence. We've heard Tom DeLonge, the modern UFO expert, as he's been dubbed, talk about how during an abduction experience you could sort of invoke, Jesus or the Buddha or something you feel very strongly about, and it doesn't necessarily mean one or the other is more or less effective. It's about how you feel about the entity, the egregore that we're talking about, and then able to sort of invoke it and then run off the abduction experience. And look, I don't know, it's just something somebody said. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's not real, but it's an interesting aspect to this when you talk about the idea of sort of an encroachment in your space, whether it's a curse or an entity or any of these old sort of folklore, folk magic type ideas of curses and things. And then being able to sort of invoke some counter protection, some sort of a reflection, as you very smartly said earlier. And like I said, every time we talk about this, I feel very geeky, D&D level stuff. Like, okay, let's open up the illusionist's spell book and see what kind of stuff we can talk about. I didn't do that, but it certainly seems to track here when you're talking about these old cunning folk. And they were, the tarot cards and the scrying in the water and the whole bit, the ropes and the spoons and you name it. Like they were using all of these things. And like I said, if you don't believe in this stuff, that's totally cool, because I'm not sure I do either. But like I said, just take the idea of dowsing and witching as part of this, as just the start, and then kind of wonder how deep this goes in terms of that old folk magic aspect. I don't really know, because if I did, I'd just out there be doing folk magic instead of this. But maybe, just maybe, there's a digital form of folk magic and resurrecting these ideas. At least maybe I'll get some brownie points there. What else you got, James? Got about a minute or so left, as you know. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I might have to update my clock. I think it's a little bit slow. So, but yeah, and that comment about invoking whatever higher power you believe in or you accept or you feel is valid, using that to drive off other forces, other beings. I've heard of that, and most of the times it does seem to work for if you're in that situation. The problem is not always. So then the question is why, and I don't have any answers for that.
Nor do I. And that's why it's, and isn't it refreshing to be able to talk about things and not have to come to conclusions? I think that's really the magical space of what Troubled Minds has become. We can talk about ideas sort of in the periphery and not have to be like, well, and this is the end of ends and this is how things should be, and give you, life advice or something. I don't know. It's always been kind of rubbed me the wrong way that I know that's how human narratives work, but I don't know. I think information is good to share, and I think people talking to each other is good. And a lot of these old ideas are very good. And so That's good enough. I don't think we have to draw a conclusion about anything. So you're the best. We'll get back to you momentarily. Appreciate you very much. You know him, you love him. That is James Salcedo, the paranormal expert of Troubled Minds, Salcedo Paranormal. Tonight we're talking folk magic. We're going back to the well, back to deep magic from the dawn of time. I'm calling this the agency of the unseen. Metaphysical counterintelligence. Is it possible? How deep does it go, and how weird does it get? Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. Just a reminder, you probably know the other YouTube is not working. I don't know why. Check out Troubled Minds TV. We're live over there. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Do not go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. A new theoretical framework from the University of Sheffield may offer the deepest explanation yet for one of physics' most enduring mysteries, dark matter. Researchers publishing in the journal Physical Review D propose that dark matter's elusive behavior could arise naturally from the geometry of a hidden fifth dimension, where a force-carrying particle called a dark photon shares a precise mass alignment with dark matter itself. That alignment produces what scientists call dark matter resonance, an effect loosely comparable to a musical instrument vibrating powerfully at exactly the right frequency. Crucially, the model may explain why dark matter interacted strongly in the early universe yet appears almost completely undetectable today. What sets this framework apart from earlier models is that the resonance isn't assumed or manually tuned, it emerges organically from the shape of the hidden dimension itself. Previous approaches required physicists to adjust particle masses with extraordinary precision by hand, a kind of theoretical bookkeeping that many in the field found unsatisfying. The Sheffield model suggests that precision may simply be baked into the underlying geometry. Dr. Udite Sai, a Royal Society senior research fellow leading the work, noted that resonance has long been considered a powerful concept in dark matter theory, one with the potential to reshape our understanding of how dark matter formed in the earliest moments of the cosmos and how future experiments might finally catch a glimpse of it. Dark matter remains one of the most consequential unsolved problems in modern cosmology. Scientists infer its existence from its powerful gravitational influence on galaxies, structures that would simply fly apart without it, yet no laboratory instrument has ever directly detected a dark matter particle. If this fifth-dimensional framework holds up to further scrutiny, it could provide experimenters with a clearer roadmap for what they're looking for and when those interactions might be strongest. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. What's up, Kelly, Eric? What's up, Bailey? Welcome back. Been a minute. Dragon Rose. We got APOC, JJ, Joe in Florida. What's up, Kramos and Satya? Thank you, Jen, for the call. Fire stuff. And James as well. Always slaying it, you guys. You are the best. And what do you know? We're talking folk magic. It is one of my favorite topics, but I just wish I knew more about it. I think I need to get some old folk magic books and just do like Matt Sell does and just slay the books. What's up? So Sweets, I guess, is a tarot expert, enthusiast. Yeah, I didn't know that. I did not know that. And yeah, everybody's welcome to call. This is not it's an in group, not an out group. And we're just friends here. We're not trying to expose anybody for anything. We're just trying to talk, trying to share ideas and wonder what comes next. What's up? I see there over on YouTube again. The other YouTube's broken. I don't know why. So Troubled Minds TV. What's up? We got Jen. Thank you for the call. What's up, Jay in New York? Pure Evil. Call the Time Bandits, right? Maybe. See you, James. What's up, Fred? We got Joe's here. What's up, JJ? I see you guys. Hello. Good evening. What's up? Thank you for all the nice chat, and thank you for being kind to each other. It means a lot to me. We can get together and not call each other names. I mean, what's up, Sweets? Nostradamus. We got the Puff sighting. Good evening, guys. Good evening over there on Rumble. Yeah. Let's go. Troubled Minds coming up. We got Kramos coming up. More from James and your calls as well. I don't know. Look, I'm calling this the agency of the unseen, metaphysical counterintelligence. And look, this is inspired by Montauk, Tom Montauk, montauk.net, montalk.net. He's got a thing on his blurb there on his Twitter account, which is at Tom Montauk, Montalk, that says hyperdimensional counterintelligence. And that always really kind of stuck with me. And I'm like, that's a fascinating term. Just like those two words are like, what? Yeah. So it's kind of stuck in my craw forever. I think it's time we talk about it. Anyway, what do you guys know about folk magic? Let's go. Troubled Minds happening right about now. And how deep and how weird does it get? Let's go. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We're broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. That is KUAP, Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena. Yeah, we got that. It's registered. KUAP. And shout out to Bailey. It is not QAP. It is a KUAP Digital Broadcasting out of Las Vegas at 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we talk. I'm calling this the agency of the unseen, this metaphysical counterintelligence. Now, is it possible that there's actually a way to tune into that invisible realm, the unseen, and then not only that, recognize what's happening as part of it, and then have some kind of counter defense? Okay. And so I'm just looking at this as sort of, like the Ghostbusters, right? Except the Ghostbusters is 1984 and it's fiction and it's, it's cheeky and it's cute and it's interesting and it's funny. But this is, some of those things, but not all of those things, because we're talking about deep magic from the dawn of time. We're talking about folk magic, and we're talking about curses. And is it possible to not just detect them, to recognize when something happens, when there's a blight in the field that may not be science in particular, because the old ways recognized some of those things that we may miss today in sort of the hustle and bustle. And speaking of the hustle and bustle and missing things, as you know, I'm speaking for myself, but everybody out there we're not talking to whippersnappers that are 18 years old anymore. Most of our crew is probably like at least 30 plus. But doesn't it feel like the older you get, the faster it goes? It's weird. It's like you're sort of racing toward this singularity and it's drawing you toward it. It's so crazy. Anyway, I digress. But the hustle and the bustle. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff, and not just that. The more you learn, the more rabbit holes there are. It's just it's an absurd thing to be human, to only be able to consume and process so much information. But hey, we do our best anyway, right? So yeah, that's where my mind is at, racing to death. Exactly. What's up, guys? See you there, Eric. Yeah, I mean, and that's the point. It's really weird, but I think some of this stuff that going back again thousands and thousands of years has a ton of value if we can remember it. And I don't look, like I said, I'm not an expert, but if we remember the basis from where it came from and what it means and what it meant to us historically, to society as we grew up and came into the modern space, I think sometimes that may be good enough. Kind of jog somebody's memory to go look into some old ways instead. Like I said, the Farmer's Almanac, if you handed that to somebody 1,000 years ago, they would think you were a wizard. Okay. And there's some really wild stuff in there. Some really wild stuff. James, anything to add? And then we'll go to Kramos on the line. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, okay. That's all I can think of right now, but looking forward to the calls.
You are the best. Was there a voice that came through? Did you hear that?
No.
I'm hearing voices now. I literally heard a male voice that was not you say something. Did anybody else hear that while I was talking there? I'm gonna have to go back and listen now. Hold on, I'm gonna make a note real quick, the timestamp, so I don't miss it. I swear to you, I heard something. That's something. Wild. Yeah. You don't want to. You don't want to do that. It's an EVP. Oh my God. I swear I heard something. It was a voice, and it said like a half a word or 3/4 of a word. I almost was able to hear. Okay, I'm writing down the timestamp. Okay, there we go. And so let's go. 702-857-6939. I'm calling this the agency of the unseen, metaphysical counterintelligence. Now, is it possible that this folk magic goes back and is deep, deep, deep? And it's something we've forgotten and something instead we should remember. That's the whole point. And of course, you know me, my favorite question is, How weird does it get? Let's go to Cremos. Cremos in Chile, Notables Radio. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Let me click the thing. Did I click it? I think I clicked it appropriately. There we go. There we go. Cremos in Chile. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you tonight? Welcome to the joints. Go right ahead.
Hello. I heard something. Not a voice, but I heard something.
Okay, good. Okay, that's +1. That means I'm not literally losing my mind. I like that. No. I'll take it.
I think maybe I was thinking it could be another kind of counterintelligence frequency intervening. Maybe I don't know, but I think it could be psychophonia in Spanish. Psychophonia, psychophonic is like when they go to places, cemeteries or places sacred, and they record the sounds and they hear stuff. You know about that?
Not directly, not the way you're talking about it. Please enlighten us.
Okay. Well, there's a culture here in Chile, well, in South America about Psychophonia is when they go and visit places like cemeteries or very old houses, and they go with these sounds recording instruments, and they communicate with the spirits they are invoking, not as a ritual or occultism or something like that, just to communicate. And the most shocking one for me is there's an account on TikTok. I start following, and it's this guy that goes to the cemeteries and clean the stones of every person, and he do this psychophonic, and he hear like "thank you," and he starts chatting with the entity spirit that answers, and every entity is appreciating the cleaning because he goes with this brush and clean very old cemetery stones, and that's his psychophonic exercise.
Okay, I dig that. But different ways of communing with, the unseen realm. And, graveyards certainly play a massive part in that with the ancestral spirit and that idea that the egregore of where we came from spiritually. So, hey, I dig it. I appreciate you sharing that because, like I said, hey, look, I'm just me. I can't know all the things, and I've never been to Chile. I'd love to go. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, I'm told. But thank you for sharing that. What else you got for us tonight? We're talking old magic, like folk magic, curses, being able to sort of stop them maybe, or any number of things. You know us. We kind of take a wide berth on these ideas and talk about them. And what do you know about it? Beyond that, I appreciate you sharing that. What else you got? Go right ahead, sir.
First of all, you will be here in Chile, and I will be your guide, your tourist guide.
Thank you. Appreciate that. It's nice to have friends.
Yeah, hey, of course. And before, I'm going to save my experience for later, but I was reading your article and I was hearing the calls, very interesting. And first of all, I want to ask you and James if you have or known about the experience of like this energy cleaning houses or protecting houses or protecting, cleaning people, spiritually talking. That's my question, and I will leave my story for later. But I'm very interested in to know if you have experience or knowledge about those energetic, spiritual cleaning or protection for places or other people.
Great question. Thank you. You first, James.
I've heard of these things, different methods, different processes. Different people say things work and other things don't work. I have not really. I'm more of a cataloger of experiences, more so than doing any kind of work myself. that keeps me busy enough as it is. So, but I have heard of that. Yeah, there are people that have developed methods to do that, and it's always seems to be you never know how things are going to turn out overall. So, not that I don't think anyone should do it. I'm just saying, just be careful either way.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's called a Pultropaic magic, where you do something in the space, whether it's saging or whether you put up a charm on the door, the threshold magic, things like this, right? Where you're able to do, and it's funny that you say that. I travel all over the place. I'm a driver. I'm doing all kinds of different things, and I see different houses and different buildings, and some of these buildings are really weird. They're very Masonic and courthouses and things like this that are very, very like deeply steeped in these old ideas. But also I see some of these charms that people put on their doors, and it's like I'm just learning more and more about this type of stuff. But I mean, saging is certainly one. The Pultropaic magic of the threshold of some sort of charm that kind of keeps the evil spirits out, things like this. And of course, there's one of the oldest when you talk about folklore and magic, is that you need permission to come in anyway. You shall not pass unless you're given permission to cross that threshold. It's sort of the basis of inviting something, for good or ill. I don't know. That's what I know about it. And it's, I can pull up some stuff and talk about that, but I think you probably asked that question for a reason, but saging is one of the most common ones that I hear of in recent times. And it's what most people talk about when they call into the show over the years, talking about this exact type of magic, sort of cleansing a space of all the rest of all the ideas that we're talking about, the evil spirits or evil juju, bad juju, whatever. But great stuff, Kramos. What else you got? Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting what you're telling, because in fact, to inhabit an old building or house, it's a very important sign of respect. And it called my attention, the counterintelligence concept, because here in Chile, and I know in other countries too, for example, when they want to protect recent born babies, they if the baby is a male, they dress it as a female. So it's and they put different names, and when the baby starts growing, they, like, when they dress a baby growing as a female, when the baby's a male, it says the objective is to disinform, to make this disinformation for any evil energy that are reaching or seeking for male recent born babies. So this is a female. So it's like this intelligence, counterintelligence, but in the spiritual and energetic realm, I think the operation of disinform evil agents in order to protect this recent baby. That's what I thought, and that's what I think about what you're saying in terms of you can do the same with buildings or spaces, because they open portals, I think, and you need to seal or protect those spaces or prevent evil enters.
Yeah, I follow you. Let me ask you a question regarding the dressing the babies as the different genders. What is that supposed to do? Is it sort of a misdirection so that they are not easy to latch on to in the spiritual space because it's ambiguous?
Yeah, it's like for example, I don't know if you saw the movie Dragon of the Bruce Lee story. There's this scene where, well, in the whole movie, Bruce Lee needs to confront the demon, and the demon was an heritage of his father. And there's this scene that reminds me of what they do here in Chile, also mostly in the south, in the farm communities, to disinform and avoid the fixation of evil or demons in the recent born baby. In the movie of Dragon of Bruce Lee, the father explains to Bruce Lee before he gives him the money to go to the United States. He told him like, we dressed you as a female baby because we were trying to avoid the demon to go after you, but you will confront him eventually. So it's like a protection for the most vulnerable period of the human being that's being just born.
I see. So shout out Dragon Rose in the chat says, isn't that also why people have middle names to confuse entities by making it difficult to know their full names? Very Rumpelstiltskin. Very. Yeah. If you know everything about the entity, and look, that plays in 2026 in the digital space as well. Like if you know my IP address, you know my real name, full name, you know my birth date, you know my social security number. Certainly, these types of things come into play, and it's not magic. It's just modern day shenanigans and crime and cybercrime and all the rest of it. But it is interesting that we have these protections of our closest identity space, and then there's some people that are just like sending their DNA out to 23andMe. I mean, it's like, hey, people, would you stop sending your DNA to these companies? Would you please stop doing that? Anyway, go ahead, sir.
My cousin sent DNA in the pandemic for traveling. Oh, you can send your DNA and you can fly safer. And I was like, why?
Why? Exactly. Yeah. But nobody's flying safer because somebody else has your DNA. That's a fact.
The vaccine wasn't enough safety. No, I need to send my DNA to every airport in the world can see and know that I'm harmless and that I'm not a threat. But DNA, is it necessary?
Yeah. In the very, very early days of Troubled Minds, we talked about that, and I called it our source code. I mean, that's what it really is. You talk about, the simulation theory, and if you want to kind of boil it down to who we are as individuals, your DNA is your source code. And, given 1,000 years, you may be able to just create another one of you, snap your fingers, and boom, there's 10 Kramoses and 10 Mikes, and we're still alive and whatever. But you know what I mean? So clearly our memories are different and consciousness, and there's some the hard problems, as they call them. But I think in that space, it's an interesting concept to consider that we're just giving away like the most intimate details of ourselves. Hey, you guys may as well just be sending nudes out on the internet. I mean, I'm not encouraging you to do that. I'm just saying, like, hey, if they got your DNA, they can just make a new one of you in the lab anyway. You guys seen that show, the movie with Ewan McGregor and is it Scarlett? I can't remember. Anyway, the Island, I think it's called. Anyway. Back to you, sir. You had an experience you wanted to tell us. Don't let me derail you too hard. But go ahead.
You have a call from Jen, I think. I'm going to save my story for later.
No. Go ahead and finish. She called earlier. So she's got some stuff to add. She's got some stuff to add. She called earlier. It's okay. She's welcome to stay for the whole rest of the show too. So go ahead. You set it up. You want to tell us your experience. Please tell us your experience.
Yeah. Like I told you before, I was born in Cuba because my parents were exiled from the dictatorship of Pinochet here in Chile in the 1973. So I was born in Cuba in 1983, and I'm gonna read the consultation that I did and what they explained me. So I was born in Cuba, being the newborn of my parents exiled by the Chilean dictatorship. I was born in 1983 in Havana, Cuba. The matriarch, the mother of the neighboring family who lived in front of our apartment. We were finally one family. Caridad Diaz Rojas, the Mama Cari, was the mother, and her mother, I was told, performed a Santeria ritual with Chango to protect my eyes. Michael, they told me this when I was like 20 years old, and I'm just, I still have a lot of questions, but what they did was what I'm going to describe, because the washing and consecration of the shelter. In Santeria, nothing protects if it does not first go through a ritual process of consecration. The grandmother prepared an oimero, which is a sacred liquid made from water, and it was from Chango. Chango is one of the orishas, Elements of the amulet, usually a combination of a black jet hand, red and white beads, and sometimes coral or a bullseye seed, were dipped in this liquid to cleanse them of any mundane vibration and charge them with the ache, that is a life force of the orisha, in this case, Chango. So the ritual is performed in front of Chango's sacred receptacle. And Grandma lit 2 candles, antanas, and proceeded to the act of Moyugba, which consists of praying, invoking African and Cuban ancestors, asking permission to carry out the work. With the smoke of tobacco and a few drops of rum or brandy blowing gently on the amulet, Chango was presented with the situation. A newborn, the son of political exiles who required protection. So the grandmother placed the amulet on Chango and specifically asked that the eyes of the orisha were your eyes. The evil eye in children is conceptualized as an energy that enters when a strong or heavy look alters the purity of the baby, causing crying, fever, or loss of sleep. So by consecrating it with Chango, it was intended that any malicious, heavy, or envious look that will rest on your cradle will collide with the fire of the orisha. The deity acts here as a reflecting shield. The negative gaze burns and wanders before it touches your spiritual retina. So that's what they did with me when I was a baby. And it makes sense for me until now, with all the questions that I have and with all the things that have being experienced by me in relationship with my eyes and my girlfriends.
Yeah, the evil eye actually came up when I was
not a very good one. Yeah.
No, you're okay. But when I was doing the research for this, the evil eye did come up as part of this sort of a curse, like those old folklore curses and things like this. So it's fascinating that you bring it up as part of the culture in Chile. And this is, and don't forget, guys, this is why we talk to each other.
This one is Cuban.
Cuban. I'm sorry. Okay.
Cuba.
Yeah, my mind went 2 different ways there. But yes, born in Cuba, right? So okay. But here's the thing, though. My whole point stands is that this is why it's important to talk to people, because people in other parts of the world have seen things and experienced things that we can only really dream of or maybe read in a book. And then in this case, Kramos is able to say, hey, look, I was born here. I live here now. And this is what happened to me when I was a baby and young. And these are the things they told me that happened as part of me being born, and the misdirection and all that stuff and the different clothes and all the things. I mean, to protect from spirits, that this apotropaic magic. And I just did a quick list of apotropaic magic techniques in ChatGPT, and it just spit out like 100 things. I was like, oh crap, there's so many things. I'll mention a few of them in a second here, but I don't want to take your time. But fire stuff, brother, I appreciate it very much. Like I said, it's important to learn about each other in the different places we live, because look, it is different. We're people and we're the same, but also the places we live are very different sometimes. And it's important. I appreciate you very much. Thanks for sharing the experience and the folklore of where you came from. We got about a minute left. If you got anything else, my man, go right ahead.
No, thank you for the topic, because it's enthusiastic hearing from me, because if you're learning from this, that's the same thing that I celebrate when I hear your episodes and the people's calls and James' experience and creations. After all, I'm learning. So if you are learning about this, of course, I'm going to send you a few links about the orichas, because in relation to your topic, there's a very strong agency of protection for recent born babies and more.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mike.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for the call. Cremos in Chile Notables Radio. Please give him a follow. You know what to do. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down just a little bit. It's alphabetical, and Cremos, it's a C right there. Click that. He's got a link tree. It's absolutely beautiful, and he's working on amazing things, and he's got street cred because you bet your ass, he's been banned from YouTube. So, hey, you aren't anybody unless you've been banned from YouTube, right? like all those guys that are out there making millions of dollars on YouTube. It's like, you guys are kind of sus. Get banned once or twice and then get back to me. Anyway, follow Cremos, please. Follow James. Follow all the rest of the amazing friends down there. Follow Jen. We'll talk to Jen in a moment here. Lots of people make this show go, and that's the point. Tonight, we're talking about the agency of the unseen. I'm calling this metaphysical counterintelligence. Now, what do we know about it? Surely it's folk magic. But how far back does it go? And of course, how weird does it get? Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Don't go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. Software bank CEO Masayoshi Son is doubling down on his belief that artificial intelligence represents the financial opportunity of the century, and he's willing to spend trillions to prove it. Speaking at his company's annual corporate conference in Tokyo, Son dismissed concerns about an AI bubble as absurd, pledging to invest as much as $5 trillion per year for decades to come. The comments come as credit ratings agency S&P Global downgraded Software Bank's financial outlook, warning that the company's massive bet on OpenAI, now totaling nearly $65 billion, is eating into its financial capacity and worsening key lending metrics. Son, who once predicted AI superintelligence would arrive by 2035, has now pushed that forecast to 2040, projecting that AI revenue could account for 20% of global GDP by then. Meanwhile, polls suggest most Americans don't share Son's confidence, with a growing majority expressing concern that the broader tech sector is caught in a dangerous speculative cycle. On a very different note, skywatchers across parts of Europe and Asia have something spectacular to look forward to next month. A solar eclipse is set to cross several regions on August 12, offering a rare celestial spectacle to those in the path of totality. For context, it's been over a year since the last eclipse graced any part of the globe, the most recent being the widely celebrated event that swept across the United States in April of 2024. Solar eclipses occur somewhere on Earth roughly every 18 months, though any given location may wait centuries for the sky to go dark in the middle of the day. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Catch me chewing tacos again. 1 sec, please. 1 moment, please.
I certainly don't have the compendium. It's a continuum from corporeal bipedal type life to, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life. But there are several that the U.S. government is aware of.
Thanks, Dave Drush, for filling in so I could chew my taco. What's up, Kelly? Eric, I see you. Bailey. What's up, Dragon Rose, APOC, Jen? We'll talk to Jen in a minute. What's up, Matt Sal, JJ, Sacha, Cremos, Joey, and Roving Fungus? You guys are the best. Thanks for being part of this. Thanks for caring about the ideas. Shout out all the friends and all the places. James, of course, Sweets, Nostradamus, Sweets, the other glue of the show. Thanks for sharing all the places. New friends. What's up? What's up? Over there on Rumble. What's up, Ashley? I see you there. Great stuff. Great work you're doing. I would tune in from time to time. You were fantastic. What is going on? Who else did I miss? There's Fool Me Twice podcast. What's up? I see you over there. You guys are all welcome. It is a open phone line show, so kind of old school Art Bell is the vibe we're trying to get. So you guys are welcome. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're talking old folk magic and how far back does it go and how weird does it get? Who'd I miss in the other YouTube? I think we're good. Yeah, the YouTube is a misdirection tonight. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Final segment. Appreciate it. If you guys want to get in here, we got more from Jen, more from James, and your calls as well. And we're talking folk magic. How weird does it get? How far back does it go? And what do you know about it? Let's push the button right there. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things. TroubledMinds.org. You can find all the things, and that's the point. Those are websites. Click the things, do the things, come hang out, come be part of it. Tonight we're talking folk magic. And look, I'm calling this very simply the agency of the unseen. Metaphysical counterintelligence. Now, is it possible that we can pick up on things like the divining rods, witching, or that type of thing? What's the other term, James? Not witching. It's called
dowsing.
Dowsing, yes, that's it. Like that divination magic of old. And so not only that, right? So those are the toes in the ocean aspects of what we're talking about tonight. But how far back does it go? And the whole point of this, just let me point out a couple. There's a couple of stories that really inspired this. And there's this the Border Reivers curse, and this is from Carlisle, England, 1525, and it's this giant rock that was written in this. A curse is the entire thing. It's crazy. Like I was reading just a quick brief. The cursing stone of Carlisle, England, is a stone with a curse engraved on its surface. The Reivers, or lawless raiders of the Anglo-Scottish border, angered so many villagers that Gavin Dunbar, the Archbishop of Glasgow, penned a curse in 1525 upon the Reivers that was to read in all churches. Dunbar penned a 1,069 word curse. Serious business, guys. He cursed every part of their bodies, cursed all of their activities, cursed their homes and families. Then he put curses from the Bible upon them, cursed the Reivers from heaven, all human contact, the church, and finally consigned them to the fiery pit. You could say Dunbar was really pissed. And this is from Mr. William Henry Leonard Poe at WadeJoe8 on Twitter X. It continues, in 2001, Gordon Young was asked to create a replica of the curse. So he created the cursing stone in Reiver pavement and carved 383 of the 1,069 words on it. It was installed in 2003. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. This is a representation of this. And the links are in the description. But here's the curse. All right. It is long. See all that scroll? All that scroll is the curse. That whole scroll is the curse. Okay. I'll read just the beginning of it because I thought it was funny. I was reading this and I was like, damn, this guy was hella mad. This guy was hella mad. I curse their head and all the hairs of their head. I curse their face, their brain, their innermost thoughts, their mouth, their nose, their tongue, their teeth, their forehead, their shoulders, their breast, their heart, their stomach, their back, their womb, their arms, their legs, their hands, their feet, in every part of their body, from the top of their head to the soles of their feet, before and behind, within and without. And I stopped right there if you're watching the stream. The rest of this continues. Curse. I was like, damn, like this guy was hella bad. Anyway, and that's really part of what inspired the show tonight. I was like, okay, so the idea of not just apotropaic magic able to take a space like a threshold or a home, shout out Kramos, and cleanse it and keep it safe from these curses or magic from other places. But then something like this is the curse to end all curses. And I guess the tail ends that the curse was so deep that actually it worked in reverse, and it cursed the village and cursed the area they were in as well. So it wasn't just the curse upon them. It was such a deep curse that they had to actually scrawl a verse from the Bible on it to try and mitigate the curse that was encroaching on them metaphysically. That's how this story goes. Again, links are in the description if you want to read up on that and fact check me. I'm not making this stuff up. This is actual history, wild stuff. And I think that the cunning folk, that's the one story I wanted to get to because I thought it was very important as part of this. James, anything to add to that? Let's not curse anybody's legs and toes and feet and tongues and things, but anything to add? Welcome back, and then we'll get to some calls here.
Yeah, no, let's not curse anyone or anything, just to be safe. There are some people in this world that, sometimes I'm kind of tempted, but just in case it can come back, no thanks. But yeah, no, looking forward to the rest of the great calls so far. I'm looking forward to the rest.
You are the man. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. Let's go back to Jen. You were first. Thank you very much for jumping back in here. Fire stuff earlier. And what else do you got? We were talking about Potropaic magic and some of the saging and things like that when you jump back in. But of course, you're your own person. What do you got for us? Welcome back and go right ahead.
Okay, well, I don't want to interfere with any calls coming in because, like with Kramos, that was really important information. Are there a lot of people waiting to come in? Because
we got Eric behind you, and it looks like that's it.
Okay, so a few things I recall. That's really important what Kramos was talking about with the evil eye with infants, particularly he was saying about new children coming in and getting the eye upon them of disapproval in any way, like that can have, or that there's something disgruntled and they kind of cast it onto them. Out trying to prevent that. And a lot of things in that world are shaped around that, but some particular things that are important. So, if a person was worried about the sort of energy coming into their home, there was a time I had an old apartment that had been broken into, and I put a sachet, essentially a sachet. It had a variety of herbs in it. It had a bit of iron. It had a bit of myself. A bit of yourself is something like hair and nail clippings. And then I put like several other different types of pungent things into it and put it around my doorknob. It was a small sachet and very interesting. People came and went. This was years ago. And they came and went from my apartment to visit and to talk and friends and things like that and to socialize. But there was one individual I actually had some sort of dismay with at the time. This was a long time ago. Another woman. Anyway, she came into my apartment with some friends of mine and hers, and she had come into my apartment. And I swear she wasn't there, but like maybe 15 minutes, and began to say that she just kind of felt uncomfortable, and there was this whole thing going on, and she just wanted to kind of leave. I did think it was because of the sachet. I'm going to be honest with you. And then additionally to that, there are such things as a witch's bottle. A witch's bottle is a sort of like a decoy, basically, which reminded me of what Kramos was talking about. And a decoy is basically like you make something of yourself and you put it somewhere, usually the front porch or wherever actually you may be encountered. And the energy directed from the individual, they are drawn to the direction of the energy coming off of this bottle. The bottle includes pieces of yourself, and it includes defensive, identifying symbols, whatever that means to you in a way. And so you create something of a decoy of yourself. And that effigy is what actually is assaulted and not yourself. Interesting enough, in religions, that is also used when you have statues of saints and things like that, or Mary. The energy is directed at an effigy. This can be like that. That's extremely powerful. You can access that effigy and see for yourself what has come in contact with it if you do develop a sort of sense or feeling. But that is really a big thing. Another thing that's really important is like what Kramos was talking about calling upon ancient ancestral spirits that are actually, it's going so far back. Like the idea of connecting to a particular, even sometimes an immortal force. Because in the bloodline, if you go as far back as you can, you run into, there was ancestral worship. So that was very potent. But like he was saying about, having the grandmother and things like that, that's all through rituals we would have all known by now. But in the modern world, we have to rely upon different circumstances. The idea, for example, when I was living in Southeast Texas, and there was a lot of things, I guess, at the time that were essential to, my parents and to people around us. They talked about chicken feet, hanging chicken feet on the door. And this is Southern voodoo. And hanging chicken feet on the door is to scratch away the evil that might be trying to come into your house. It's like the feet, it was chicken feet. So it's very powerful. The animal itself spends its entire life scratching away and pecking. And the idea is that by taking its feet and you hang it over the door, it's a reminder to you, and it's a reminder to anyone who sees it of what they are for. And so symbology has a lot to do with it, seen or unseen. If it's unseen, you know it. And then for the practitioner as well, who may be averse to you, that is also powerful. If they suspect that you are also operating on that level, the symbolism itself is potent to them on a symbolic level that speaks in the dream realm. So it has to go beyond that, and it's deep within the psyche and the unconscious. Things like burying. Burying is one of the most powerful things. Burning and burying are two of the most powerful forces you can use in this sort of symbolism. And it communicates to the universe around you, to the environment, and anything else that is in that environment, as well as to anything onlooking, about what they are actually working with. So there are so many different practices, and in listening to people about these things and hearing, most importantly, their own accounts and stories does assist in growing a library that would help those that might be struggling with such things. And it's highly underestimated how many people actually struggle with these things. Salt is such a powerful thing too. Casting salt. There's a saying that wherever I cast salt, and this goes back a long way, if you cast salt, nothing you are will grow here. So it's very potent against things that might want to try to put root where they shouldn't. So surrounding salt around a house or properties will prevent, because nothing can grow in salt.
Yeah,
so
actually,
it's yeah.
Just real quick on that, when I asked the GPT list, the very first thing it said was this, and I'll just read you the first line: salt at doors and windows as a symbolic boundary. Replace it after a few days rather than letting it sit indefinitely. So that's literally the first one on this list. So it is, right. Like you said, salt, you can't grow in salt. You put salt on plants and it eats it up and dies. So, I mean, there's something to this for sure. I think the old ways, we've talked about this with silver in the pitcher and, sort of cleansing the bacteria from water and things like this. Like there's some magic in those spaces because we didn't understand the science of it. But the salt part, of course, the salt at the threshold and that apotropaic magic certainly seems to play still. Pinch of salt over your shoulder, some of these, quote, superstitions they call them. But once again, right, like who knows what level of, dare I suggest, demons are kind of dancing in people's heads. And so I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. I think this type of stuff is, I think we should not forget it, is really my point. Fire stuff. What else you got?
I agree. Last thing. Dedication to that sort of tending, meaning tending to your psyche that way. The fact that you will continually, almost like watering the grass or mowing the lawn, it'd be important to tend to those things. And it tends not only to those things, but it keeps things at bay. It just does because you're thinking of it that way. So carrying of sacred things around your property and within yourself, having something to come back to is extremely essential. But everything else spans from that, literally everything. And the understanding of the essence of these objects is essential. Like truly understanding the mechanism of why they would work. Sometimes they work without people knowing. Of course they do, but it does help to tell a person, of why. But yeah, great show. Thank you, Emma. I didn't mean to hang on. I just wanted to this just totally fires me up. This is exactly the sort of thing.
This is an ode to Jen. When I was writing this up, I was like, okay, this is a right down Jen's alley. I hope she's going to show up tonight. So I appreciate you very much.
I love it. I did post some videos recently, and this was exactly where my mind was. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. You were the best. Jen in Missouri, please go give her a follow on all the places, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down very simply. You can search Arcane Observer, the Arcane Observer on YouTube, or again, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Jennifer there. And right below James, actually, J&J right there. And she also does co-host Salcedo Paranormal with James on the weekends. And fire stuff. Always fire stuff. Shout out over to Rumble. So Gordo says this. He says, Jen's knowledge base never ceases to amaze me. Yeah. Like I said, we're lucky to have earned, grown, and just really connected with so many amazing people, because look, there's a lot of information out there. And like I said, you could spend your entire life trying to learn some of these things and never catch a whiff of it and even think it's frivolous and stupid. But also, like I said, I think it's important to recognize that some of these old ideas we should probably not forget. And that's very important. Great calls, Jen. Appreciate that very much. James, anything to add? And then we'll go to Eric and we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, great to hear from Jen as always. And I think I mentioned in the chat there, maybe I'll have to have Jen on to talk about all this more in a deeper dive sometime, because I was aware she knew a lot more about this than I do. And so obviously she's demonstrated that very well. Looking forward to Eric's call.
Indeed. The old Jen trope was that we always start off the rails on Troubled Minds, and then Jen shows up. She flips the car off the cliff and lights it on fire the best way. True. Still true. You guys are the best. I appreciate it very much. Love to hear your thoughts as we go. And look, consider ideas that are, sometimes uncomfortable. Like that's really the point of this. Like I said, if we can't face our own mythologies and talk about these things together, then what are we doing? Like, this is a safe space. I'm not trying to tell anybody they're wrong about anything. Let's consider ideas. Let's consider these old rituals. Let's consider the things we do or don't know, and let's talk about them together. And maybe, just maybe, there's some magic in the noise. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Eric in Ohio. What's up, my man? You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and James. How are you, sir? Go right ahead.
Oh, living the Ohio life, man.
The dream. Hey,
the Ohio dream.
At least it's not Iowa, so you're doing good there.
No, we're all trying to avoid getting diarrhea here in Ohio currently.
Oh, nice. I was actually digging into that because we've got lettuce here, and I'm like, I'm talking to Mrs. Strange. I'm like, do we eat this? Do we eat, like, I've got cilantro, I've got lettuce. I'm like, do we eat this? and I'm trying to find, like, is there an outbreak in Nevada anywhere? Oh, I guess we're going to be patient zero of the zombie apocalypse. Hey, the cheese and Jib Nugs skipped the lettuce for a week. Hopefully they'll clean this up. Yeah. Oh, I did read today that they found the source. They found the actual source where it came from.
Yeah, so around the lake area, lettuce area,
something like that. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure where, but yeah. Anyway, we completely grotesquely digress. What do you got? Go ahead, sir.
Sorry, yeah.
No, you're fine.
As far as apotropasm goes.
Exactly. Hang some filthy lettuce at the door, and that'll keep all the demons out.
As far as I've been able to see, at least as far back as 3000 BC, which is 5,000 years ago, people were practicing apotropasm. Specifically in Egypt and Greece, and then the Romans inherited it from the Greeks, and in Turkey as well. And so, which was the Anatolia region back in the day. So Anatolia, Egypt, Mesopotamia, and Greece all had very strong apotropatic magic. A lot of that took the form of a blue eye, large blue eye, with blue background with an eye painted on a disc, typically is what was used back in ancient times to ward off the evil eye. And they still sell these medallions and amulets today in curio shops in the Mediterranean basin, and people still put this on their fishing boats and airplanes and stuff as well. It's not that different than, say, putting a saint in your car if you happen to be Catholic, for protection, a saint of travel or whatever. And I think also linked a picture of some witch bottles and an article from the Smithsonian Museum. They have found hundreds of witch bottles, and they find them all the time when they're remodeling houses in England. They find them in chimneys, they find them in door frames, any place where there was a means of egress and they needed it to be protected. They would have these witches' bottles that we've already talked about. And of course, inside of them was things like urine and human hair and teeth and things of that nature, and used for exactly what Jen had said that they were used for, basically like a type of mobile homunculus, if you will, to distract the evil into these places. And then, so yeah, they find these all the time, man. I mean, it was like really popular in the 15th through 17th centuries in particular, witches' bottles were very important. The coal, which was the afterbirth of a child, was also something that was kept and used to ward off the evil eye, especially in the 15th and 16th centuries. Going back to ancient Egypt, there's the cauroid, which is a type of seal that women would wear in their garments, and it was supposed to ward off evil, and particularly if they were pregnant, they would be wearing these cauroid symbols, which were supposed to be basically a representation of a type of seashell, which I put a picture of that in there too, a couple of pictures of the ancient Egyptian seals that have been found. And the oldest curse that we have found, it was actually from the Bible, which is funnily enough. And we have found the oldest curse and the oldest part of the Bible that we have ever found was written on silver and copper scrolls that were rolled up. They were inscribed with the curse. They were rolled up, and then they were usually put into like a house or a framework, or in between bricks, mud bricks, and things like that, into the base of someone's shop or house, depending on what the curse was. And a lot of the curses were, back in that time, were things like competition with people who had businesses and stuff, and if somebody's business was doing better than someone else's, they would sometimes go and pay like a priest to scribe a curse. So they'd have to pay for the silver and the inscribing, and of course what they did with it after that was up to them. And the Hebrews also had the same situation. They had an expression called "no evil eye," which eventually turned into "knock on wood." And that goes back to Asherah, which was the consort of Yahweh a long time ago before they got rid of her. And also it touches on the legend of Lilith, which was Adam's first wife in the rabbinic tradition. And she was cursed out of Eden. And so in turn, she spent her curse to kill newborn babies. So the whole idea of saying a lullaby was to ward off Lilith. It was originally an apotropaic magic that you would say over your child before they went to bed that would protect them from Lilith coming and taking them. And then, of course, there's a lot of apotropaic magic that occurred from the 17th through the 20th century with Santeria and voodoo and in the West Atlantic witchcraft tradition, which spans Europe, the United States, and Africa. So at that point in time, there was a lot of admixture. Like with Santeria, you find elements of Catholicism alongside voodoo, and alongside practices that involve ancient drugs that do certain things, like I think we talked about before, there's an old 80s movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow about an anthropologist that was looking into how people were creating zombies, and found that they were using, the main ingredient was a puffer fish powder that they were using to, and amongst other things, but it was a Santerian situation. So, yeah, man, like, all of those things that 5,000 years, people used to use curses almost like we would use authorities today. Like if somebody did something wrong or bad, or we would typically curse them if we had the money to pay for it, because you had to pay for it. You couldn't just, you get a scribe and get a priest and stuff. I mean, it's got to be official. So
Yeah, that actually comes up in the what we're talking about, the cunning man and cunning woman. There's a great article here on occultworld.com, occult-world.com. Links in the description. Check it out. So in 1492, a cunning man set a fee of £1,000 for a charm to procure a husband for a widow, while a cunning woman of the same time period took 25% of all stolen goods she found through divination. So, I mean, it wasn't cheap. Like this is one of those things, right? Like the haves and the have-nots strikes again hundreds and thousands of years ago. And if you don't have money to pay the seer, well, you're going to do without justice, aren't you?
Yep, exactly. You're just going to be another person complaining to another person. Until you pay to get the job done.
Exactly. You got to pay the magician, the wizard, to get the job done. Pay Gandalf or things don't happen.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. These are things that I think that we still carry with us today. There's a lot of things that have traveled. I heard Jen talk about the chicken feet, which I had seen when I lived with my grandparents. And of course, there's horseshoes that hang over barns and stuff like that provides good luck or wards off evil. There's a lot of Appalachian mixing of myths that happened in that area when America was first forming, coming especially from the late 17th century where Salem occurred and that sort of thing, right? There was a lot of superstition going on at that time that was transforming in the New World, just like Santeria was, from the influences of other gods and other religions and other medical herbs and things that had potent powers. And, so it's something that had evolved, and there's also, I forget the name of the lady. Might have been Yuba, but there was a slave from Africa who was also considered to be the good rich. She got quite a reputation for herbal remedies that cured people of things and helped people. And of course, I'm sure she probably used some of that knowledge to get herself by and stuff,
Yeah, well said. All that. I was trying to come up with the idea in my head, but it's called a mezuzah. So there's like a charm on the door. Let me read this. So mezuzah is a small case attached to the doorpost. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Containing a handwritten parchment with passages from the Torah, especially the Shema, Shema from Deuteronomy. It marks the home as Jewish and serves as a reminder of the covenant, God's presence, and the commandments. And I'm seeing these places, and look, I'm not a weird interloper on people's homes, but some let's say attorneys work from home, a lot of them, and so you go to these places, and I'm noticing these things on the doors, and you ring the doorbell, you knock on the door. I'm basically just picking up documents. It's like, yeah, that's what I do. I didn't go deliver them somewhere else. It's not that fancy, but I'm noticing these things on the doors, and I'm like, what the hell is that? And so as I'm waiting, I'm like, kind of to turn my back a little bit so the Ring camera doesn't see me, and I'm Chat GPT or Clauding. What is this? Oh, yeah. I'm not trying to obviously take a picture of it, but I'm like, what is a charm on the door? And I noticed
what kind of magic are you using?
Exactly. Yeah. What kind of magic is it? What devilry is this? And I'm only joking, but and I noticed they're also like at a 45-degree angle. They're not up and down. They're not.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
You can see a representation of that exact thing on Ben-Hur. If you ever watch the old movie Ben-Hur, when he goes back home, he goes and he messes with that on the side, and he pulls this little scroll out and he kisses it. But you can see that in the Ben-Hur movie too. If anybody wants to get a look at it. But yeah, that's another thing at the entryway that offers protection. And apotropism is even like in as late as the 19th century, when they talk about things like throwing rice down in front of a vampire and he has to count the rice before he can move, or using a cross to ward off a vampire, or garlic was sympathetic magic because garlic would thin the blood and vampires obviously wouldn't like them, so you use them to ward them off. Yeah, I mean, really, you start looking around, man. It's everywhere. The "don't walk under a ladder" comes from Egypt in terms of a bad superstition because it breaks the geometry, and the knock on wood comes from Hebrew, which has survived today. And of course, Jen talked about salt and stuff, and for that exact reason, because it makes the earth barren and sterile, and What else is there? I'm sure there's people still have lucky rabbit's feet that they carry around, which is not that different from the chicken feet or the horseshoe above the door. Also, some older people will take the first eggs of spring from their chicken and bust them around their back door in their backyard, and that's supposed to bring fortune and good luck. And then there's all kinds of omens, like a bird inside the house is supposed to be bad luck, or auguries that are types of divination based on things that happen in nature, like a flock of starlings moving in a particular direction all of a sudden could be an augury to a pontiff, an ancient Roman priest. Of course, there's the one I can't even remember how you say it, but it starts with an H. It's like hexaphinx. It's a type of divination where you look at livers. You're looking for spots on livers to tell the future. I mean, there's just dowsing. Of course, they talked about Hika ley lines and all of that. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of been using and retreading this for a while.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Matzal mentioned the horseshoe too. So the horseshoe, interestingly, is so not just a apotropaic iron. And iron is one of those things that supposedly is able to drive away evil spirits in some capacity, but also the fact that you hang the horseshoe up, so it holds the luck. If you hang the horseshoe down with the 2 points down, it's draining the luck into the earth. It's sort of a grounding mechanism of the luck you hope to preserve. So, I mean, like some of these things, like I said, and look, if you're like, nah, come on, Mike, this is really stupid. Fine. Like, I don't care. I'm not trying to make anybody believe anything. I'm trying to recognize what we've forgotten, and let's talk about it, and let's consider it, and let's wonder why some of these things made sense. And they did scientifically for, like I said, the silver pitcher is sort of killing the bacteria in the water type of thing. There's some very good reasons for this, but what about the reasons we don't know yet? And like, I'm not one to go, it's all demons, but I'm going to say there's a demonic presence in the psyche of mankind. I'll say that 100%. And if you want to just call it like sort of the Jungian archetype of the worst of ourselves, fine. If you want to say they're real demons, fine. I think metaphorically, it still plays, and I think it's interesting to consider all of these things as part of it. And like I said, look, I've had that dark night of the soul. It rings heavily on me and motivates the hell out of me, because I wasted several years of my life being just with my dick in the dirt. It didn't make any sense, right? Except, I don't know, like in the time, it just felt like it was the end. And I was young and I was strong and I was good looking and all the rest of the things, right? And still, like, smart, obviously. I mean, I had all the tools at my disposal, and still I had no faith in myself. It's weird, man. It's weird. And sort of drawing yourself out of that space, I don't want to call it magic, but I certainly want to say that there's things that go back centuries and millennia that we should not forget. What else you got, brother? Go ahead.
I also was wondering if Kramos was talking about bukas, which are kind of like a fey creature that are supposed to hide in the rafters of your house. And as long as you don't acknowledge them, they will clean your house and dust things and stuff like that. But if you acknowledge their existence, they tend to hide things from you. And they're supposed to be like spirits of Scully maids who were negligent in their duties, and they turn into bukas after death and basically clean your house. I've heard of that in terms of folklore. I don't know if that's what he was talking about or not. And I worked for 6 years reading tarot cards on a 900 number as a psychic, and that was like the only job I had for 6 years. Paid all the bills and everything. I was on a psychic line call.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you told
Yeah,
me
I was
this
on the
before?
site.
What the hell, bro? I
don't know, dude.
I feel like you're holding information back. No, go ahead.
Maybe I've done so much dumb stuff. I don't know. It was called Cabrina Kincaid's Psychic Line, and we also did Overflow for Sylvester Stallone's mother, who had a psychic line as well. And I read a Rider-Waite tarot card deck, did a Celtic cross spread, just standard stuff for 6 years, man. And it was one of the coolest jobs I had, and that's actually where I got involved with the Pagan Society in Columbus, Ohio, and started doing Gardnerian rituals, writing rituals for them to do, and got a lot of education about divinatory practices because everybody the job was called Universal Matrix. And so we would all go there, and it was like a call center. And so everybody had a different form of divination. Some people used rune stones, and some people used tarot cards, and other people used other combinations, just various things. I've never seen anybody use tea leaves, but just about anything but that, all different kinds of tarot cards from different people and such. You read a lot of Aleister Crowley and studied a lot about the Golden Dawn in those 6 years from people who were interested in that and would give me books and would have discussions and stuff. It was really like a college education for 6 years in divinatory practices.
That's why you're our weirdo. Not only that, you're an academic, like, and a D&D guy. You're a dungeon master, bro. You are our weirdo.
I've got a
you are our weirdo.
bachelor's in history, a minor in philosophy, and a master's in world history, and a minor in American history. I've worked in a steel factory, a plastic factory, a cereal factory. I've refinanced mortgages for Chase Manhattan. I sold property and casualty for Allstate for a few years. I mean, I'm actually just applied for a job to do artificial intelligence prompt management and prompt engineering and data extraction for a company called Influx. And I taught my buddy Matt how to vibe code and make software and stuff, and he started doing it for the company, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're a wizard." He's like, "Dude, I'm telling you, you need to hire this guy that taught me how to do this." So he put in like a huge recommendation. So it's just like one more thing, man. It's like I was heading toward teaching, but now this AI thing has come along, and it's like, well, maybe I guess I'll just be an AI engineer now instead. Yeah. I mean, you can really do whatever you want to do in life. You just got to figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out, and then move toward what sort of calls you. And the space needs it. I mean, that's probably the biggest gap right now. If any AI enthusiasts are out there, I'll just say it. Go. If you haven't joined the Discord, please do that. Troubledminds.org. Shameless plug. Click the Discord. But there's an AI channel in there. I just dropped a thing in there where some dude's like, I don't really know how to use AI that well, but I'm like, charging thousands of dollars an hour to like basically link up businesses with like AI tools that will save them time. Yep. So like, you're just kind of the middleman being like, well, okay, so what is your time sink? I hate this process. It costs me 5 hours a week. Okay, let's look at that. And then you go to these 3 websites and you put it in, or ask Claude directly, and Claude will tell you, well, these things will fix it for you. And then you just go, like, you're basically just a middleman taking money. And because business owners, look, and I say this a lot, like, look, I'm not a Republican. I'm not like that idiot that just like so stuck to the space of the rail of you have to do this and you have to do and say these things. But what I do recognize is I've tried to build businesses my entire life, and I've failed every single time. Every single time. It's not easy. And look, I'm a smart guy. I work hard. I'm enthusiastic, all the things, right? But I've failed every single time. And so I'm telling you, just go look at the Discord channel. Go watch that video. Like, you don't even have to know anything about anything. Like, learn a little bit of Claude, and then you're in. But anyway, I digress. We digress. What else you got regarding that? I wanted to mention the horseshoe, the direction, the steel, the mezuzah, the salt to Jen covered. I got a list. Sunlight cleansing, moonlight cleansing, water bowls. I mean, there's like the massive list of these things, and apotropaic magic. And look, let's say it doesn't work at all. Let's say this is all pseudoscience nonsense. All right. But what if you put something down in your space and you feel better about yourself in a moment, and you operate better through a consciousness aspect of faith in yourself. You see what I mean? It's like the ritual becomes not something that is magical, but it's magical to you, and it improves you. And shout out, I want to read this too. So JJ says this in the chat. So listening to this show has helped me be braver in life. Thank you for that. That's a very validating statement for what we do. And that's the point. So thank you for that. Then we've done our job. I've done my job, and I'm satisfied in all the time spent here, because that's the point. We're supposed to look at the world a little bit differently and recognize all of these things that are happening around us that you cannot quantify. And also, it's okay. What else you got, sir? Go ahead.
Is it, sir?
That's it?
Hi, James. Just hi, James. How you doing, sir? Other than that,
Okay.
that's it.
You were the best.
Yeah.
I appreciate. Go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
Doing okay, and I think there's the one thing too I want to mention. I'm sure Jen knows this as well. Maybe she even said it in chat. The counting, using things that have things you can count to distract other beings. I've heard of that not just with rice, but with all kinds of things. Even like the straw in a broom, like all the pieces of the parts of the broom head. If you have a broom, that's actually a device to do that, to ward off things. So, there's a ton there. So, sorry about that. Hello, Eric.
You guys are good. You guys are the best. Appreciate you very much. Follow Eric. You know what to do. You guys know the drill. It's very easy. I've made it very easy. If you want to be part of the thing, it's an in club. It's not an out club. Shout out. I got so many witnesses out there that are on this list that can say, hey, Michael put you on there. All you got to do is help the show a little bit. 1 iota. Like you participate in the chat and be nice to people, share some ideas, repost us, just out in conversation, let people know that there's that conversation happening. troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down a little bit. It's alphabetical, because of course, Knights of the Round Table in eternity would be alphabetical, wouldn't it? Follow Eric. Oh, I got the wrong thing. There you go. There you go. Follow Eric right there. troubledminds.org/friends. It is alphabetical. Click on Eric. Go follow his link tree. Go follow the projects he's working on. And anything he adds that he's going to add to the stuff that he's doing will end up on that link tree that he wants you to see. So please go help each other. Let's go do this. That's what this is about. Talking to each other, learning things about ourselves is important. And then this is Troubled Minds. You're the best, brother. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for popping in here. Always a pleasure. You have a great night.
Thank you.
You as well. James, anything to add? We got Kramos with his hand up. I think he wants to address, he sent me a message here. He wants to address, the voice, the EVP that I heard. Anything to add? We'll go to Kramos.
No, I'm anxious to hear about that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and listen. So it was 8:08, 8:09 p.m. Pacific when that hit. So if you want to go back and see if I heard something in my headphones that didn't go out to the stream, that's some super spooky shit. Kramos, welcome back. How you doing, buddy? Go right ahead.
No, I mean, I was asking in the Rumble stream of your channel, in which minute did you heard the voice? Like the number that you're giving me is the time or the minute?
No, so that's the time, like the time that happened. So we started about 7:03 p.m. So the time that it happened for me was about 8:08 or 8:09 Pacific Standard Time. So I'm gonna go back.
I can find the minute when your stream ends and there's a video. I can find the minute.
Yeah. Okay, so. We come back from the top of the hour break. We just talked to Jen, and then we talked to James, and then we took the break, and then came back, and I was kind of doing the ramble intro, and it was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
It was in there somewhere in that like 5-minute pocket. And I was like, what the hell? What was that sound? I thought it was James, but it didn't sound like James at all. It was not James's voice. And it was like 3/4 of a word. Like it was almost like a weird radio transmission. Anyway, that's where it's at. So about 8:08, 8:09 p.m. my time. Top of the second hour, and anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna check for it and have just a very short question because I feel this urgency to know what James thinks about all the stories and information that we heard tonight, and a piece of like a suggestion. I think you can have knowledge about different rituals, but I think if you are aware of what you want to protect or do you want to protect, even yourself, you can make your own rituals using your own elements and building your own cosmovision per se, So I think it's a very healthy exercise when it's always connected to protecting, not attacking, because that's the evil part, I think. So that's what I wanted to say. You can build your own elements and geometries and rituals, build it by yourself with all the knowledge that you want to include. That's it. Thank you.
You're the best. Appreciate you. Follow Kramos, troubledminds.org/friends. Click the friends link. Click the Kramos. What do you got for that, James? And we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, great call from Kramos. I do think as for all this, there's too much to really put into one word or a few words, even a sentence, how I think about all this. But I do want to mention, I believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of making your own rituals or ceremonies or defenses, all these different things, I believe that's part of the basis for chaos magic, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but yeah, thank you for having me on, Mike, as always, and this was a lot of fun.
Glad to have you. Appreciate it very much. And I'm not sure chaos magic. I'll have to look into that. But what I do know is it is definitely neuroscience. Like, it has been one of those things that so people that do high level athletes that do rituals measurably perform better. Like, and we've talked about this in the past with Phil Jackson, the Zen master of, he was the coach of the Bulls with Michael Jordan and that team that won all the championships and, one of the best teams ever type of stuff. But he did a bunch of this Zen master stuff where he led them through these ritual spaces of imagining they had already won before they even started. So they made it to the NBA Finals. He did these exercises in the locker rooms where he described to them, now close your eyes, and we're all going to meditate together in this space. And I'm not sure he used the word meditate, whether it was New Agey or not. But let's close our eyes and let's think about how we've already won and what that moment feels like. And right, for some reason, it's like the physiology follows. It's like you recognize those, and at the highest level of actual athletics, a millisecond, 10, 15, 100 milliseconds type of thing, decision in your mind changes everything. So it's almost as if you're kind of like in this preternatural space of you recognizing you're already there. You just need to be hyper aware of what you need to do to get there. It's weird. I don't know. So it's like the doubt is removed. Now let's go do the thing and win. It's just a strange thing. I don't know. And so creating those rituals, my point is that those rituals, I believe, and like I said, I did a show on this recently, and I didn't do it properly because I didn't pull all the science up on it. But there's a ton of science, neuroscience, that suggests that this type of ritual stuff actually helps us in every way possible, right? It helps you in your job. It helps you sort of be more calm in the day. It helps you recognize threats around you. It just helps you. It's almost as if you're rehearsing for what comes next. And so the whether that's prayer or whether that's, some other sort of ritual thing or that. Anyway, you get my point. We'll talk about this another time, but there's so much there in the neuroscience space, which, again, wildly, think about this. Thousands of years ago, they were doing ritual that improved performance, physiology, that improved actual physical performance, but they were tapping into an actual psychological mind space of what Phil Jackson did, the Zen Master. I mean, it's wild. All this is incredibly wild. So you're the best, James. Anything to add? And we'll wrap it. I think once the music plays, James is out. You guys are the best. Thanks for being part of this. Sorry, go ahead.
You caught me, sorry.
That's okay.
I was in the chat.
That's okay.
No, thank you as always.
You're the best. We caught James chatting. How dare you? What a filthy habit, you dirty chatter. Look, you know what to do. If you want to help us, help our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. If you want to help us directly spread the word, let people know a conversation is happening, but we're not going to tell you who to vote for. That's not what this is about. If you want to help us and spend some money, do the things, it's all up there at troubledminds.org, troubledfans.com. You can buy the hats and the shirts and everything else. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. And this goes out to each and every one of you. Thank you for inspiring me every day. And thank you for caring about the ideas enough to spend your time and energy here. And thank you for bringing me back. Because if it wasn't for you, I'd have quit a long time ago. Thank you so very much. As we finish, this one's for you. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.